one of the other questions that we've occasionally done I don't want to use the wrong word here. When we've had auditors or customers come in, some of them have wildly different opinions on what is verification. And so some of them feel that the verification activities I described earlier are more than adequate, and others basically want each machine verified almost every single day just because of who knows what patches ran overnight and things like that. And that's another one of those that had me kind of looking for, is there a standard? Is there a common, this is good enough defined that can help answer those kinds of questions when those differing opinions are brought up?
Yeah, the whole field of how much V&V to do can be very overwhelming, and people in organizations can say, this is just so overwhelming, I have no idea where to start. And so we'll come back and look at this at a later time, okay?
Been there.
It can be that. And concerning, I guess there's to me, two parts of the question you asked. One of them is, what are the most important things to do? And that's exactly what management and staff members, especially senior staff, should be asking. Of all the myriad of things to do, like, should we do code verification checks every time the operating system has a patch on it? Okay, that's excessive. Okay, should you do code verification checks when you have a new version of the software package? Yes, then you should do that. Okay, but to do them anymore, and some patches are much smaller than others, but if there's a significant upgrade to the package, then you should do them. The other first part of your question had to do with, you have either customers, or maybe you have regulators or safety authorities come in and say, what are you doing in V&V? And there is a lot of variation in terminology of what is V&V. And even though we covered a little bit of that in our first video, the systems definition of verification and validation are very different than what we're talking about here. So when you deal with customers, try to understand, be sure that you're talking about the same verification and validation. Because the systems V&V, those have to do with requirements, meeting requirements, and does this phase correctly check with the previous phase? Whereas what we're talking about here, V&V concepts, are entirely focused on solving mathematical models, usually given by differential equations. So you have to get everybody on the same page. And we're at a point in history where some regulators and customers are just beginning to ask these questions, like, what do you do in code verification or solution verification? But we're still at an early stage on that. But as we progress forward and companies use more and more simulation in their products, particularly if they want to certify, let's say, safety or performance, then the customers or the regulator should be asking exactly, show me what V&V you've done. And so it is something that I think farsighted management will start saying, we need to start getting more organized in this activity.
Okay. And then one other quick question, both, I think this time and perhaps last time as well, you mentioned manufactured solutions. And that's a new term to me. Can you give a 2-minute introduction to what that is?
Okay. They are an analytical solution, but they're very special types. So when we say we need, in code verification, we must have an analytical solution. Some people say, well, we could use a very accurate numerical solution. You can, but the requirements that we want on accuracy are so demanding that they're very, very hard to find. Okay, so the whole class of analytical solutions, the most common ones are traditional analytical solutions. They're given by typically infinite series, and we did those back when we solved, both mainly in graduate school on solving differential equations. Manufactured solutions are a special class, and the reason they're so powerful is that they change the mathematical model of the physics, and they move it out of the realm of a real physics problem or approximate physics problem, into a realm where it is no longer actual physics. It's not physics that approximates any kind of reality. And you say, why would you want to do that? And the reason that that is done is that you can generate analytical exact solutions to that problem more easily than you can the original physics problem. And that may seem a little bit confusing, but you actually can do it. It is much easier to do it if you're changing the mathematical model. It's called changing the right-hand side of the differential equation. And so sometimes it's called the excitation side. That when you do that, you have much more flexibility, and that's why they are such excellent problems to test in code verification. Maybe that helps, Greg.